folks to log on, and then we'll get started. Okay, welcome. This is our opportunity that we wanted to take to walk you through some of the remote learning questions that might be going through your mind right now as we launch our school year. Welcome, welcome. Ooh. We have been very busy getting student orientation rolling, and I'm happy to see from the chat that people are so excited about student orientation, and the kids are all engaged in the quest. I anticipate that when we eventually get back in the building, they'll be digging around for jewels, but I hope they find them in the quest. Anyway, next slide, please. So this will be available to you on the Bugs website. If you do have questions after today, you can email info@bugsbrooklyn.org, and we will make every effort to answer all of your questions. There will be a Q&A at the end of our slide deck. Next slide. This session will provide you an overview of remote learning at Bugs, introduce you to our leadership team, give you some insight into all that will happen while we are in remote. Curriculum will come later. We do have a tentative date for curriculum night. We are working to ensure that we can actually keep that date, so please keep an eye out. Tomorrow we have the Appy Hour session. We use a lot of apps at Bugs, and this is your opportunity to learn what those apps are and how they function. So please check it out. Remind others to check it out, and training will come later. Next. All right, and here's our Bugs team. Susan Tenner is our executive director. She is on vacation right now. Lucky Susan. I am Wynette Caesar. I am your principal. Dean Damian is logged on with us tonight. Dean, that's who he is. Lydia,
hi, everyone.
Lydia Bailey is our director of operations. Jess Kawach is our Director of Science and Sustainability. Jess, unfortunately, could not be live with us tonight. Ms. Zita is on family leave until September 20-something. But Ms. Zita is our Director of Humanities. That is all things ELA and social studies. So if you ever need to reach out about ELA and social studies, Ms. Zita is your person while she's out. I will be your person So if you have a question about ELA and social studies while Mrs. Zita is on family leave, please reach out to me. Mr. W, one of the amazing student orientation planners and organizers with Dean Damian, is the director of math. And Ms. Sade, who is also here with us, is the director of sustainability. I'm sorry, not sustainability. You're not Jess. Director of inclusion. All things students with special needs or any other questions you have about interventions, please reach out to Ms. Sade. Next. Okay, so we're moving right into remote learning phase 1. As you know, we are in phase 1 of our reentry. We've decided to go the remote learning way. We at Bugs like to believe that we are pretty good at this remote learning, and we are here to really support you and your student through the process. So keep notes of your questions. If we don't answer it throughout these slides, please ask it at the end. And now I'll turn you over to Mr. W.
Hey, good evening, everyone. If you've been peeking in on some of the orientation stuff, it's me. This is the voice to that floating animated head. You'll be hearing from my counterpart later tonight. But I wanted to say, when we first went into remote learning in March, in those kind of crazy days there when we were trying to figure everything out, we knew right away we wanted to center ourselves in these 3 grounding principles. We wanted a system that was easy to use for all of our students and families, something that provides structure, because middle school brain needs that structure, but is also flexible to respond to the realities that we are all living together. And then finally is maintaining that connection to the community, because that is the essence of middle school, is that we're in this together. And we know that being via screen can make that so much more difficult. So we knew we wanted to keep that at the forefront. We'll spend a lot of time talking about things tonight. I want to say a quick moment about privacy. This was also kind of our 4th principle as we went through this. And we wanted to let you know that we are thinking about this, and we are actually an entirely a Google-centered school. So it means that a huge part of our privacy protections come from using Google systems. So all of the communication between staff and students will be within these Google systems, which tracks everything and logs everything and supports everyone in that way. When we are doing remote learning, all of our classes are recorded and then stored on our own servers. That's also to allow students to potentially see the class again, but also, again, to keep everyone safe and secure. Supervisors like myself or Ms. Sade or Ms. Jess, we are popping in and out of sessions to support, to provide feedback. We are in and out. We are trying to make sure we are doing this well, because we know it can be pretty tough. And lastly, we will be working with our students to keep evolving. I think this orientation is a good example of we need to compete with middle school brain with cell phones, and so let's do something really great. So we're continuing to evolve our practices as a school. Kind of the big essential thing for us in our format, which might be a little bit different from if you've been at other schools or coming from elementary schools, is that we decided right away that students would follow their schedule remotely. We believe that structure is good for middle school students, and so providing the structure for families and students that is predictable was super key. We'll talk about screen time in a moment, because we also know that that brings some things up, but we knew that we wanted to follow the schedule and provide structure. We wanted to emphasize that staff are logged on and actually interacting with our students the majority of the time. We wanted to make sure that those essential relationships and connections weren't going to be broken because of a screen. And we also work to provide a variety of programs, which you'll hear a little bit tonight. Ms. Sade is going to host the event tomorrow that's going to go really in depth. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming with so many programs, but the reason we do that is to be responsive to the needs of our families and our students, which can be very different depending on the family of the student. I want to throw it over to actually Ms. Sade, who's going to walk us through kind of our schedule and some other ways that we are supporting students here at Bugs remotely.
Thanks, W. Good evening. I am Ms. Sade. As we said earlier, I'm the Director of Inclusion. That's a really nice way to say special education and student support. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. So as we continue with remote learning, it's super important for families to have a clear picture of how each class will unfold throughout the week. So that's what we're looking at here. Here you can see that Mondays are asynchronous, and Tuesday through Friday, students will have synchronous learning in some combination of live instruction, guided practice, and independent practice. Please remember, teachers are online the entire time. This way they can support any questions, and if there's any issues with applications, like the apps we'll talk about tomorrow night, teachers are there and ready all the time. Next slide, please. During synchronous live instruction, teachers will present their lessons using screen share, or what you may already know as present mode. They will use video modeling, read alouds, and other real-time demonstrations as well. Digital notebooks, oh, not yet, thanks. Digital notebooks, worksheets, and other independent practice materials such as Dreambox for math would be selected by respective subject area teachers. So students can expect to have a plethora of materials and expect to have interactive discussions using Google Meet chat feature or by turning on their mic when asked by their teacher. Next slide. Thank you. Our teachers will use these co-teaching models to provide live instruction throughout the week. One teach, one chat means one teacher is providing instruction while the other teacher is monitoring the class chat and answering questions. During one monitor, one chat, one teacher will be monitoring student work completion while the other teacher is interacting with students and responding to classroom chats. When both teachers are chatting, it is most likely independent work time for students. This means teachers are fully available to give real-time feedback and answer questions as the students work to master their new skills. At other times throughout the week, teachers will deploy small group sessions in which students will attend smaller Google Meets to get more direct instruction from their teachers at the same time. So here at Bugs, we're working really hard to ensure that the needs of each of our students are being met. As we continue with remote learning, you'll notice that most of the online supports mirror what's already available in the physical classroom. Teachers will be including student work options in varying degrees of difficulty so that students can pick an option that's just right for them. Teachers will also be including exemplars, visual aids, and audio supports to increase student understanding. Although our teachers are not meeting with students in person, they will still hold one-on-one check-ins with students through Google Meet. These one-on-one check-ins will give students increased opportunities to work with and receive feedback from their teachers. Supporting all of our learners will happen in other ways as well, such as using the Google Chrome extensions for education to make materials more accessible. Just today, our tech team pushed out a text-to-speech add-on to all of our students' Google Chrome browsers. Please note that this could take up to 24 hours to show up on your student's computer. We're helping our students learn how to manage their time by teaching them how to use Google Calendars. Through their calendar, they can set due dates for assignments and set up reminders for a few days or a few minutes prior to the due date. Students can also see what is coming up throughout the week just by opening up their calendar. And yes, I'm guilty of doing this too. Finally, I wanted to mention some of our targeted interventions. Students who meet the threshold for reading intervention may receive small group phonics instruction that meets 2 to 3 times per week and have access to Learning Ally. Learning Ally is an app that can be used on many devices. So your iPhone, your iPad, and of course on your computer. And it provides text-to-speech assistance so that students can read books easily. Additionally, our teachers' assistants will be provided guiding reading practice within their ELA classes. I hope the past few slides have given you a better picture of what it looks like to be a learner at Bugs. Next, we're going to pass it off to Principal Winnett for grading.
So sorry, Winnett, if I can just pop in for a moment. I'm sorry to take away from your grading for a moment. But I just want to, I realize that like, oh, I want to make something clear to all of our families because we're all coming from different schools that you might have picked up on, but I realized that myself or Ms. Sade didn't say explicitly. We are a Google Meet school. We do not use Zoom in any capacity or form here at Bugs. Everything is through Google Meet. You've probably picked that up a bit through our work through orientation, but you'll see that referenced over and over. So that was important. Everything goes through Google. We do recommend students use the Chrome browser when they log in with Chrome and then log in with their Bugs Google account. They can customize that browser and we can push things out to them. Anything that's pushed out to a kid through our browsers has been cleared by our tech team, which will be talked about a different day, but everything is checked for compliance and for bugs and all the things that are essential. So I want to put that out there. That's who we are. And now, Winnett and grading.
Thank you. Grading. So I'm just going to very quickly give you an overview of what grading looks like at Bugs during remote learning. Next slide. We will be focusing on these four categories during remote learning: quizzes, classwork, participation, and formal summative assessments. So classwork is going to be the majority of what students do. That is why it is weighted heavier than all of the other areas. We have included participation. We did not include it in the spring because we wanted to be sure we really had a handle on what participation could look like for various students during remote learning. So we are including it as part of the grade now, and we are very focused on making sure that our staff understand what participation looks like because it does look different for all of our students when it comes to remote learning. Some kids love to talk during the chat and turn on their cameras, and some kids do not, and they need a different approach. So we are really focusing on making sure we get that right. Quizzes will happen. Just a little bit of insight into this. Quizzes and assessments will happen, and students will be required to turn on their cameras for these. That it is not, there are no exceptions for this. Teachers will be monitoring when they give assessments, and students will be required to turn on their cameras. Next slide, please. So what if my child can't attend a class at the regular time? This is a very good question. It came up a lot in the spring. If your child cannot attend a class in the moment that it is being taught live, you can request a recording of the session from the teacher. So it takes a little bit of time for the sessions to actually upload. But once they upload, the teacher can share out the session and the child can watch it on an asynchronous Monday. There are a couple of enrichment classes for every student on Mondays, but that's just 2 periods out of the 6 class periods. And for the rest of the time, students can work on any work that they've fallen behind on. If there's an assignment that was given, maybe a field study on that Monday, they can work on that. They attend their enrichment classes. They go to advisory first thing. But yeah, if you've missed an assignment for any reason, you've missed a class for any reason, you can always request the recording of that class from the classroom teacher. How will my child submit work? All right, so these are all of the platforms, all of the apps, all of the things that you will learn about tomorrow. Google Classroom is the main one. However, students will be working in some of these other ones that you see here, along with Pear Deck and a few others that I can't even remember the name of. but these are the ones. Google Classroom is the main one. So they should always check their Google Classroom, make sure. One thing that I have learned in the last few months is you have to hit submit or the work will not be graded. So when you're done, make sure you hit that submit button. But Google Classroom is the main one. Next. All right. Families will get a notification from teachers if work is missing. So stay on top of your teacheree's email. Always check your junk mail in case it gets lost. But teachers generally send out emails through teacherees if an assignment is missing. One thing I want to say, I'm guilty of being the parent who checks teacherees every day to see what my child is doing. That is not a good habit to cultivate. It will wear you out. As a parent of a child that bugs, I can tell you very much, like right now, it will wear you out. So check it once in a while, every week, at the end of the week, or maybe every other week, to see if assignments have been graded or grades have been updated. But check your emails for emails from teachers, and you can also respond to emails via teacherees. Is all this too much screen time? For some students, yes, it is. For some students, it is not. However, we have developed a practice of designing hands-on lessons and encouraging students to work off screen because it can be too much. It really can be too much, whether students are realizing it or not. They have school online, they have their gaming online, and so like the screen time builds up. So as a leadership team, we meet weekly to assess and respond to concerns. We look at the types of plans that are being implemented by teachers, as Mr. W said. We pop into classrooms to see what's going on. We encourage teachers to encourage students to log off and do their work and log back on during class time, to take a break, go get some water, go use the bathroom, do what they have to do when it is independent practice time, because we do understand that it can be overload. So these are things that you will see us doing. You can encourage your child to reach out to the teacher if it's becoming overwhelming, and to say, hey, I need to take a break. I'll log back on in a few minutes. I need to turn off my camera, or I need to step away. I'm becoming like overwhelmed by the screen. They can be proactive, message to the teachers. So please know that we are aware of the long day on the screen, and we are working to get better at minimizing the impact of that. Social emotional learning is built into our day, into our curriculum. Teachers do spend a lot of time just having conversations with students, having group conversations and discussions. It is built into their advisory program. So we encourage students to speak out, to ask to meet one-on-one, to let their advisors know if something is going on that they're struggling with, especially during the full remote period that we're in, so that we can support.
Hi, Wynette.
Yes.
Sorry, before you move on, this is Jessica Waja, the Director of Sustainability, and I was actually at a doctor's appointment, but I got home early enough to join. And the doctor told me that we are all deficient in vitamin D because we've been inside for so long. So we are aware of this as a school as well. And part of our mission to decrease screen time and to get students outside and fresh air and sunlight are independent field study activities, some of which students have started during orientation as part of their quest. But these will be activities that will be explained in their sustainability course and in their science classes that students will have a week to complete. and it'll involve them going outside and taking different measurements, qualitative and quantitative, about their neighborhood block or local park. So look for those soon. But that's one of the ways that we are decreasing screen time and getting kids moving and outside. So thank you for letting me jump in.
Welcome. Right, student attendance. I will turn you over to Dean Damian.
Good evening, everyone. I am the other voice that you may hear in the morning shows with Mr. W. So student attendance, I work very closely with our attendance team. And for this year, we're picking up pretty much where we left off in the fall, for those of you who are returning, in the spring, for those of you who are returning from last year. Attendance is taken during each class session. And the way they do that is just coming in and saying, hey, I'm here. The teachers will be able to see a log of who is there, similar to what's happening here. And the attendance team is still active, very much so, during remote time. So what they're doing is checking behind the scenes to see which students are attending which classes, looking for different patterns, and reaching out to families as needed. So the main goal of our attendance team is to track and respond regarding the attendance for students during remote learning. Of course, the main goal is that we want our students here to learn, to be present and participating as much as possible. We do understand that certain things will happen. When that happens, you can just send an email to your child's advisor so that we're just aware. But there is a process that teachers do have in place for students to make up work when that happens. So that is our main goal. High school application process is not finalized right now. We know that it's time of the year for 8th graders, but that will be worked out with our high school placement coordinator, who is our guidance counselor, Ms. Annalee. Attendance will not impact grades in any way during this period of time. So because of everything that is going on, we are really flexible. So we're not taking away anything. Students do have a period of time, and teachers work with students to make sure that they make up that work. If you have any questions, you can email info@bugsbrooklyn.org regarding absences or anything of that nature. Student expectations. So I do work in the Office of Student Affairs as the Dean of Student Affairs. I have a team of 3 people that I supervise and work with. Those 3 people are divided up as point people for each grade. So they work closely with different grades. Ms. Janae works with 6th grade. Mr. Kidd will be working with 7th grade, and Mr. Brown is moving up from 7th grade to 8th grade to continue the relationships that were built last year with families and students. So setting up your child for success is really important. We believe that having a designated learning spot is key, and create a similar morning routine. Change clothes, like getting up, getting dressed the way that you normally would if you were going to school is really, really good. Keep that structure and that practice. Limit cell phone usage during class, just like you would if you were in school. And print out or have a modified school schedule for the students. A lot of students do benefit from something that's hands-on, that's right there. Although Google Calendar events will be reflected in the schedule. So if they're really good with technology, their schedule might be okay just on the computer device. Student expectations. So when it comes to different behaviors or things that are actually happening in the classroom, what we expect them to do to be present. Actually, last year we were really lucky. Like Winnette said, we do this very well as a school, and it was a really easy transition for a lot of our students as far as behavior goes. There were some things maybe academically or figuring out the computer or whatever, but we did have a lot of success when it came to actual student behaviors. They are expected to be accountable for work completion and attendance to all online classes. Our attendance numbers were pretty good last year. Go ahead. So when it comes to behavior expectations, they are expected to still follow the Bucks Code of Conduct and expectations at all times. Dress appropriately as if they were in the building. Uniform is not required while they're at home. Whenever we start the hybrid model or go back into the building, we will have uniform, but that's a ways down the road, and we will speak more about that when we get a little closer. Join in the classroom with all the materials that will be needed. So depending on the subject or the classroom, that will vary on the materials they need. I do believe that we're having digital notebooks in most classes. Maybe you can hear about that a little bit later, or from someone who knows a lot more about that than I do. Being kind and respectful to everyone. So in this learning environment, it is very important for students to feel comfortable. It's important in the building. It's very important remotely as well. We're not in the same space, so it's a bit different to make that connection. So we do encourage and pay attention to what students are saying and typing in the chats. We also have different activities that are geared towards teaching students how to meet those expectations and be kind and respectful. So know that you're doing those things at home. Just know that we encourage that here as well. And students will get 2 warnings before they ever move from a class meeting and with a Dean's List referral. You'll learn a bit more about Dean's List tomorrow. What that basically means is that they were referred to someone in my office to speak to about something that may have been going on. It could have been hurtful comments. It could have been spamming the chat. It looks a little bit different depending on the situation. And then they reach out to you, or we will, someone from my office will reach out to you and talk to you about what happened, why it was happening, and where we go from there. Next slide. When logging in, students should have their microphones turned off immediately when joining an event. Most of the time it automatically turns off because of the size of the group. I think that's a setting that's automatic. And cameras are strongly encouraged to be used, actually. Again, remotely, being far away, we're trying to still build that connection. So the microphone is muted, but we can see the faces. Do not record or screenshot. The recordings will be available after class. What that means is all our classroom recordings our classroom sessions are recorded. So that students who may miss it or can't attend at that time can go back and watch that session. We do ask that students do not record or screenshot. So if someone needs something, reaching out to the teacher to make sure that they have access to that class session is what is preferred. And being focused in class, putting away all other distractions. We understand that certain things may arise. You can let the teacher know when you're busy or you need to step away or something's going on so that they are aware. But just like you were in class, in the building, we expect and hope for that same level of focus. Next slide. All right, I guess that's it for me. I will be here for the next session to discuss the Dean's List, and you'll learn a lot more about that.
Great. I am back, everyone. Hi. So we have learned a lot so far. We've covered a lot of different things, right? And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that, similar in a classroom where you just go, and just, hey, we've talked about a lot in this really, really crazy thing that we are doing when all of us really would just love to be in our classrooms with our kids. I want to take a moment to talk about additional resources. I know there's lots of questions in the chat. We have plenty of time at the end to get to a lot of these to Q&A, and we will get to those. Susan's been doing really great trying to talk about them as they come up, but she's also gathering them for us so we can talk about them. We are digital, right? And so we recommend for students who have devices or families who have devices that students are using to consider downloading these apps that will just help streamline the process. You'll notice that we are a Google school, so downloading a bunch of those Google apps would be super helpful. Again, not required. We just recommend, hey, considering downloading some of these apps. There's one for Classcraft that some kids have been using this week, I know. BrainPop has one, NewsELA, Khan Academy has one. So we do recommend downloading those apps and getting them connected. In general, for the majority of the apps, they all use the Google logon. And tomorrow you'll hear a little bit more from Ms. Sade about what different apps do. We also have a dedicated landing page or home base, bugsbrooklyn.org/remote learning, and we keep updated. We updated it, or Susan did, at 10 a.m. this morning. That we try to keep updated with all the latest happenings around remote learning. This is a little bit separate. This is a separate page from our reentry page. The reentry page is focused on our plan and processes for getting into hybrid through our phased process that you've heard a lot from Lynette and Susan. Remote Learning at Bugs page is really focused on kind of what this session is. How does this whole thing work? Yes, we use Google. Yes, we do that, all that. So we do recommend you bookmarking this page, checking it out, and you'll see more of the integrations that we've been talking about tonight. Also, follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. This is not just a shameless plug. We do use Instagram for pushing out information to families when we need to, celebrating our successes and things like that. So please follow us on Instagram, and making a note about our emails. You have probably already experienced you get emails from a couple different places. You might get emails directly from a teacher, from some of us at staff. You might also get things from Teacheries, which is our online gradebook. Please make sure that you're checking those, don't go to spam. Resist the temptation to unfollow those, because if you do it once, you won't get any of them. But you'll mainly get stuff from either Teacheries, Dean's List, or from individual staff. Again, those apps will be covered a bit tomorrow during the happy hour. I actually want to turn this back over to Wynette to walk through kind of the essential contacts, and so you just get a sense of who everyone is and what do you need and who you might go to. Wynette?
Yeah, the mute button got the better of me there for a second. So we're here for you. If you need to contact us for various reasons, here's how. So you need your child's login information, info@bugsbrooklyn.org. Please do not email the tech team for passwords. Okay, having trouble with an app, email your child's teacher. Having trouble with technology, this is when you email the tech team, techteam@bugsbrooklyn.org. Your child is unable to gain access and or isn't feeling well, info@bugsbrooklyn.org. SHSAT prep resources, anything math, Mr. W, Jared Wanneberger @bugsbrooklyn.org. High school applications, summer youth employment, our wonderful guidance counselor, Miss Anna Lee. Please email her, annaleechavez.chavez@bugsbrooklyn.org. If your child regularly sees one of our counselors and you have questions, you can email either of them here. For our mandated services, and Sade, please jump in if I'm messing this up, olivia.heffernan@bugsbrooklyn.org, and Miss Anna Lee provides at-risk as well as high school application support. Again, annalee.chavez@bugsbrooklyn.org. Yearbook inquiries, Miss Lucy.davis@bugsbrooklyn.org. Miss Lucy is also 6th grade social studies teacher. Can you benefit from speaking to other parents, hearing about others' expectations, or want to express thoughts and feedback? Email our wonderful parent coordinator, Ms. Jalissa Puello at jalissa.puello@bugsbrooklyn.org. Future virtual PTA meetings, Bugs PTA exec board at googlegroup.com. So if you want to reach me, please shoot me an email, wynette.caesar@bugsbrooklyn.org. Of course, you can also email Susan Tenner at susan.tenner@bugsbrooklyn.org. And
I can jump in really quick. With regard to related services, if your student is being served through an IEP, individual education plan, it is likely that you've already received an email from me with the contact information, right? So your provider's name for, let's say, speech therapy or occupational therapy, and their corresponding email address. If you have not received that information, please reach out to me as soon as possible so I can make sure that you are connected. So Sade.Martinez@bugsbrooklyn.org, Sade, SADE.
And all of this information, along with everyone who is employed at Bugs, is listed on our website. So if someone is not here, please go look on the website to find their contact info. And now it is the Q&A. Susan, you have questions for us? Wow, we did a great job. No questions.
No, sorry. I had trouble unmuting. We do have a few questions, but you guys did such an excellent job that there aren't that many. One question that came up was, what is the time frame that teachers are supposed to let parents know about missing assignments through Teacher Ease? How does that work?
That's a big question because it depends on the content, the size of the assignment, and the due date. So sometimes if it's just a classwork, you may find out the next day that it wasn't turned in, or depending on if it's a project, as the teachers collect the projects, you might find out on the due date that it was not turned in. Usually projects like that are ongoing, so it'll be happening in Google Classroom, and then when it's due, and the teacher checks off that it was submitted, you might get an email then. But it's really, there isn't a one-stop kind of shop answer for that because it's different depending on the content, the assignment, and the class. If W or Jess, if you'd like to add, or Sade, please feel free to do so.
I think this gets a little bit to what Sade is going to talk about tomorrow. Just how do you find where to find the thing? How do you find the assignment? So Sade is working hard to work through all of that and make sure we provide a bit of clarity. So, you know, sometimes it can be confusing between Teacher Ease and Google Classroom where to best find that information. So we're working to help clarify that for you all as well.
As far as access to your child's Google Calendar, you can ask them for it.
There was another question about, does the daily schedule include time to stretch and or physical activity? I think this parent is concerned about too much sitting affects children's posture.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, that teachers do give students the opportunity to take breaks. Students can request the opportunity to take a break. One thing that I do know that has been recommended is like sitting for kids to not sit in the chair all the time, but to maybe kneel if there is a table high enough to put the laptop on. Like, there are different types of ways to adjust your posture, as well as if you can get a standing, what do you call it? Like the standing desk that you can put on top of your desk. What's it called? Is there like a particular name for those? Just something else that you can lift your laptop up. So students can stand, or just stack some books and put the laptop on top of it and stand for class. But definitely, if you feel like you need to take a break, let your teacher know that you need to take a break and take a break. We highly recommend it, as long as you don't forget to come back to class. So teachers are very flexible. They're very understanding. They know that it is a lot. They feel the same pressure because they're sitting in front of their computers all day long. We also will still be implementing quiet time. Students can choose to meditate during that time. It is happening both in the morning during advisory and after lunch during fourth period. But students, if they haven't been trained to meditate, they can use that time to walk around, do some stretching, whatever feels good, and come back after the 15 minutes are up. Or they can meditate if they have been trained to meditate. Teachers will also be building in brain breaks. We use a program called Brain Power a lot last year. Mostly sixth graders kind of liked it, but the teachers have been trained to use various strategies from Brain Power to help kids stretch and just take a brain break in class. So we are going to be implementing some of that still.
Also, the staff, I think, was circulating a lot of like quick exercise stretching tips that we can look up. I think a lot were on the New York Times and post them on the Family Resources. So check back over on the Family Resources website page, and we can try to get some of that information uploaded too. back to parent questions. Will we be using Dean's List?
Yes, we will be using Dean's List this year. We will be sending out CARES reports. You will get emails through Dean's List, but it is going to be in full effect this school year.
For the new families, do you want to just give them a quick, it might be tomorrow for the happy hour too, but maybe just give a quick overview about what Dean's List is.
Dean Damian, you want to jump in?
Yes, I do want to jump in. Thank you. Dean's List is a software program that basically monitors or keeps up with a student's work ethic and behavior. And so it is based on, it's a system that's based on our CARES values, and all of this will be explained tomorrow, but it's a system that's based on our values, what we want our students to do, and how we conduct ourselves. So they earn positive points and they get different things for the behaviors that we want to see, and different things, incentives come along with those things. It's looking different this year because we are remote, but that was typically how it was. And then different areas in which they need to improve or grow, those are reflected there as well. Based on these things, I work with a team of people to offer support to students and interventions. So Dean's List is a software program that does all that. You'll get reports from that. There's a parent portal that you can go in and check certain things, but the entire staff and definitely their teachers have access to go in and keep you updated with what's going on with your child and student.
Okay, thanks. Another parent was asking if you could give an overview or some ideas about how students will be introduced to each other since they're so new and it's hard to get to know each other remotely. Maybe some of the strategies or ideas you guys are thinking about or will be implementing soon.
Lynette, I can do that one. I saw that and I was in the middle of talking, and it's been something Damian and I have been thinking about through every part of this orientation process. And in fact, that process has already started. We do groupings, how do we do groupings? And we decided to do groupings based on their classes. So their advisory group will since meet up with another advisory group, and that will be their homeroom cohort. So they've already started to make those relationships and form those relationships. We also know that kids form relationships in different ways, right? Some of them are active in the chat, some of them want to show their face, some of them do not, some of them we're trying to reach all different students. And so by creating an orientation that's based on a game, we were hoping to allow students a way to access those relationships in a remote environment because they are just playing together. We know that playing together is a really essential way for making connections, especially on the middle school level. All this will lead into, which you'll hear about at some point, more into our advisory curriculum that is social emotional learning focused. It is 5 days a week, and it really is helping students navigate this. We are super aware that for middle school, this really formative part where they need to make connections that are so much about proximity and who they're close to, and we are actually trying to find ways to do that. Lastly, Classcraft has some really great features that you might have seen your students use. There's some discussion boards that we've put up for other students to access, other students. There's a thing called Kudos, which has been my favorite part of the day, where kids are giving appreciations to each other. So they're receiving appreciations, they're giving appreciations, and I can see hundreds of them on the back end, and it's been really great as well to see some that are like, I don't really know you yet, but you seem cool, and I kind of want to get to know you. And so that it's all part of it. We're excited to continue to figure out ways to support them because it's so important.
Thanks. There was a question from, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was going to speak a little bit about that really quickly as well. Other ways that we are planning to engage students. So lunch tables are coming up next week. We're going to do those in different groups. So they won't just be with their advisory. We do different themes and we send those out so that students can plan which things they want to go talk about. For instance, if they're into a certain book genre or a certain cartoon or a certain type of movie, the tables are based on that, and they go and there's a adult there that helps facilitate that conversation. They can share different things on the screen. So we did a couple of those last year and those were pretty successful. So we're definitely going to do those again. And we change up the themes and the way that the students can show interest for which tables they go to. Another way that they will meet students is through what we call our house system, which is a way that the community is broken up to, I guess, guide us towards a healthy way of competing. So inside of the house system, there's 5 different groups or 5 different houses, and everyone's broken up and we do house activities. And those houses are cross grade level. So you come together as a community and you celebrate and you build each other up and you celebrate your learning and learn new things. And a lot of it is connected to our school values again. So there will be opportunities and events that come up that students will meet, not just students in their grade, but they can also meet other students in other grades.
There was a question about Google Calendars, and I think when they'll start being populated with student schedules.
That process is going to start tomorrow and continue on through Tuesday, and will be ongoing as things change. So students should start seeing invites to classes starting tomorrow or maybe Friday.
Susan, I wanted to jump back. I think we missed a question. There was a question regarding DOE guidance regarding high school placements and if they're going to be using attendance as a screener or not. I mean, I could continue and say that.
Don't ask me.
I wanted to pause because you could see that when it has more information about this. As far as I understand it, also having a student who attends 8th grade now this year at Bugs, I don't think that there has been further guidance outside of what they released last year. So I'm sure that there's more to come, and we just need to really keep our ears to the ground for more info.
Yeah, I have not heard more information. I've been advised to just keep checking, is it My Schools and things like that to see what's out there. If there is anything that comes up, Anna Lee Chavez will definitely update us, as that is a part of her role to inform us of anything high school and high school application. And she also hosts workshops for families around applying for high school.
There was a question in the chat about consideration of ending the day earlier, that it seems like a long day. If you could talk to that about the schedule. And
So there is a lot that goes into scheduling. And one of the things that impacts us is the number of hours that we are required to provide instruction. So that plays a huge role in the length of our school day. We tried our best to mitigate some of that with the asynchronous day, which is mostly self-guided. Kids can log on if they need to, except for those scheduled classes. They have 4 periods in that day that they can use either to complete work, as I said before, catch up, or just to take a break from the screen, or to complete their field study, their independent field study assignments. So there are actually in the schedule a few, like, different grades, different classes have early release days where they end at 3 o'clock. I think each grade has one, and it's different by cohort or by group, but it is built in there that there is one day that students are released at 3 o'clock. And that was the best that we could do while still maintaining all of the minutes that we are supposed to provide instruction in each core subject. So that's the other part. Like, we have to think about core subject, number of minutes, and fit it into a schedule. And there's a whole lot more that goes into it, but I won't tell you all of that. That's just the bigger parts that we consider.
there was a question in the chat about instructions on building procedures. So I don't know if you just want to give a quick overview about when we're going. I mean, I know there's so many considerations about going back into the building, but just share what we know so far about the building and going back to class?
We do not have a lot of information to share at this time. Well, not specific to the building. We are working to meet with the other principals in the building as part of the building response team to plan for how we will share spaces and how we will follow all of the protocols that we have to follow for social distancing and avoiding mixing of our students. And we have not had the opportunity. Both schools that are in the building are DOE schools, and we have not had the opportunity to meet with those school principals. We are trying, but we have not met with them yet, and we hope that will happen soon so we can have more information. In the meantime, we are working to get our spaces ready. We are planning for when teachers will be trained on protocols for being in the building. We are working to ensure that all of our spaces have adequate ventilation. Sorry, I saw Lydia was responding. So Lydia, do you want to add on to this one? Do you want to jump on? Lydia, director.
I'm on a train right now. So I just want to be sure I understand the question about the next steps for the calendar.
Oh, I was answering about the spaces, the building spaces. I didn't know there was a question about the calendar. Sorry.
It
was coming.
Buildings. Yeah, you answered it well, Antoinette. I'll let you continue on so you don't have to see me and talk with the mask on right now.
Okay. Yeah. So Lydia is the person who is very diligently working to make sure that our spaces are appropriately, ready for us to enter safely. And as soon as we have more information, we will definitely be sharing it out. And now the calendar question. What was the calendar question?
I think the point to the calendar question, it's will there be a tentative school year calendar? And Ms. Lydia did respond there. We are all patiently waiting for the DOE to release their official school year calendar. Bugs does their best to follow closely to that calendar. And so as soon as there's an official one, I'm sure that we will check ours, cross-check, right? And then release that to you all, probably in a family newsletter, I'm assuming, and probably on social media to make sure everybody's getting that in a timely manner.
And in the meantime, you will get calendar updates as we go along until we can actually provide you with a full-on year-long calendar.
So there was a question too then about will we get a week off later in the year? So I think that all is depending on what's happening with the DOE. So that will come.
A week off because the DOE is deciding to start later? Is that what that question?
That was the question. If the DOE is starting later, will that affect the holiday calendar and vacation?
Well, it should not affect our holiday calendar. We do not have to follow everything that the DOE is doing. We can make some decisions independently of the DOE. Once they put out their calendar, then we can have a chance to regroup and decide if we want to follow whatever adjustments they make for this week off that they've decided to take. But for now, we are doing the Bugs thing, and that is opening school and inviting students in, although remotely, to get their learning happening.
So who is the main point of contact in the class? Is it the advisor or will?
So the advisor is the person who is there to provide all kinds of support for your students. That does not mean you can't reach out to the teacher, but the advisor gives your students support on their academics. Like if they're falling behind with the academic check-ins, the advisor will be meeting with all of the grade level teachers and having information about the students. So we typically say first point of contact is the advisor, But again, does not mean you cannot check in with the classroom teacher. If it's really specific to a subject area and a particular assignment, I would say check in with the classroom teacher.
I think those are the questions I saw. If parents, if you have other questions you want to unmute and ask. Oh, here's another one. How do we know which teacher will be the A and B teacher?
We are working to figure that out. There's much like the survey that we provided for parents, we had to provide one for teachers to see if we needed to provide accommodations of any kind. So we are working through that. And once we do, we will be able to assign teachers specific roles, and in particular, A day and B day, who can be in the building when, with what group of kids for social distancing and things like that, and who has to be remote if necessary. As soon as we have that information, we will definitely be making it public so you know what to expect when we start hybrid or when we start actual in-person, face-to-face field study.
There were some, I think Mr. W answered this. There were some parent concern about their children getting kudos and making sure that everybody was feeling part of the group and appreciated. So I don't know if Mr. W or Damien want to say anything about that to everybody.
I can say a little bit more about that. I think it's a delicate process, right? We know that we want to foster authentic connections between kids and each other, right? And we know that it takes adults facilitating that, especially in a remote environment. And the idea and the practice of giving appreciations, this is the first week, right? And that this is a practice that will carry through with our advisors throughout the whole year. So there's a bit of like teaching both sides of that appreciation duo, right? Can you find even small things to appreciate? There are some that were just simply like, you gave a really great answer and I liked that. There are some that were, sixth grade, middle school, I like your hat. Like that's part of that evolution and process of learning how to do it. And also helping the receivers of those kudos take that energy and then keep paying it forward. And so this is kind of part of that middle school process that we are starting today. And I think in some ways it's unique because if we were in the classroom, we would be doing appreciations. And I think a similar effect would also happen in the classroom. And there is something about being online and seeing the metric, seeing a little notification that slightly changes it. And so we are continuing to kind of evolve and work with that. Middle school has lots of worries and lots of feelings. We all know that being in the profession. I chose middle school kind of for that reason. And this sort of thing also I keep on my mind so that we can help kids make those best choices. But it is as parents know, it is a long commitment. It is a long-term commitment.
And I also wanted to put in a plug until Google catches up with Zoom and allows students to create backgrounds that they feel comfortable showing to, if you can, set up a space with a background that your student feels comfortable showing when the camera is on, because a lot of times students do not feel comfortable because of what's behind them that gets also shown to the entire class. So if you can maybe put up a curtain or use some kind of thing to just block off a little office space that the student feels comfortable if asked to turn on the camera to have in the back of them, that would be really awesome. I just wanted to add that to Dean Damien's set up a good workspace for remote learning.
So there haven't been that additional questions, but I wondered if you'd like to give a little preview about tomorrow night's family happy hour.
I suppose. So while Bugs is really techie, I will be the first to tell you I'm not the techie girl. But what I can do is introduce you to the names that you'll be hearing in your home of the applications and softwares. I can tell you what those applications and softwares can do for you and your student and what the icon looks like. Because we all know, just like right now, I see phone numbers and names, and some of us have our cameras off and I don't have the face to name, right? So you're going to hear your student talking about Classcraft, and maybe a lot of you were like, what in the world is Classcraft? Like, you can't make crafts right now, but they can in a different way. So tomorrow is going to be more like a digital vocabulary lesson, but it'll be quick, easy to remember, because I did try to keep it like Twitter-esque, where the captions for each app were short and sweet. So you should be able to remember them. And then I have 2 built-in family cahoots. So we're going to have a friendly competition twice tomorrow night to see who is remembering these applications and what they're for. So that's the preview for tomorrow. Of course, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So if you missed anything or you just weren't sure, we'll be there. And then it's also my understanding that the actual like tech part of like, how do I navigate this? I know the app, I know the name, but now I just don't know how to use the system. That is to come. We have an amazing tech team and they do extraordinary work to make sure that all of us know how to use the material at hand. So please do join us tomorrow night and any other night that we're hosting a family session.
And then I guess, Sade, the big thing to note about most of the apps that we use is that they're student facing. So the students will learn how to use the apps, and they're used in just about every classroom. So they will get multiple opportunities to build on the skills that they're learning, on top of which 6th grade, if you are a 6th grade family, has a tech class, and they're going to learn a lot more about apps in their tech class. So they'll be teaching you a whole lot of stuff on your computer.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I think Janar Prieto, the PTA president, is on the call. Are you still here, Janar? I don't know if you want to introduce yourself quick before we sign off.
I am on the call. Thank you. I will take my camera off too, I suppose. Yes, hi, I'm Janira. We just sent out an email today through Constella. We wanted to, we had a great time at the picnic. All staff and parents here, if you could come, thank you, staff. If you, we specifically did not invite you because we wanted you to prepare for this great year ahead. But you should know every parent there is super excited to have their kid at Bugs, and we all feel like we're in this together. So everybody's supporting the team to help move forward. We'll be having a PTA meeting on September 15th. There was, in the announcement that went out today, there was a bit about it. I'll be following up with a Zoom link, but maybe I should do a Google Meets link. I don't know. Jared, maybe you should tell me what's best. Otherwise, you can reach us at bugspta@gmail.com or the other email address that they shared. We are working very hard to make sure that parents are engaged at whatever level they're comfortable at. We're not talking about money. We're just talking about how do we support you, and how do we support the teachers, and how do we support the kids. That's all we're focused on this year. So it was nice meeting everybody, and I look forward to meeting more of you soon.
I was actually wondering if the person, Regina, do you feel comfortable sharing what the issue with the reading survey is? Because I know a little bit about it, and I may be able to answer your question now. Or you can email me. Oh, it's not allowing you to fill out the survey. Okay, so you can email Jalissa Puello. I just put it in the chat there for you, and she can resend it. Because I think the first email that got sent out was the wrong link. And she did send it again, but she can send it again anyway.
At Bugs, you can email anybody, and everybody will help you.
And one last announcement that After School is now taking registrations. So if you go to our website, to the After School page, you can see the registration form there and learn more about the activities.
And I'm just going to give one reminder about remote learning and computers and everything. Glitches will happen. we've been doing this a while and they happen to us on a daily basis. So first mode of response is restart your computer and see if that fixes things. I've also learned to restart my modem, and that sometimes fixes things. But if all else fails, be patient and reach out to our tech team for tech support. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This was a really nice meet. I enjoyed sharing all that we do about remote learning with you. And again, if you have a question, please info@bugsbrooklyn.org or reach out to one of us directly.
I have one last item I wanted to mention quickly, and I'm sorry to hold you all here. Maybe you all are hungry. I apologize. But I really just wanted to cast a spotlight on the Family Corner on the Bugs website. There's a lot of really great things there. And since you all took the time out this evening to be with us, I'm sure that you'll find a lot of the items in the Family Corner very helpful. There's also the family resources in there, and it talks a lot about just how to talk to your student, what applications, the who, what, where, whens, and whys of bugs. And as we continue through the year, there'll be a lot more resources targeted towards social emotional learning and how we can maintain that balance for ourselves and our kids. So I just wanted to shine a spotlight on that really quickly, and please stay tuned.
All right. Have a good night. Have a good night, Bugs.